Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing kind of like two videos in one. I'm going to be testing out a Pinterest recipe, but I'm mainly going to focus on showing you guys how to modify recipes, because a lot of times I say just use whatever you want in your recipe, but that can be kind of confusing, so I'm going to show you exactly what I mean in this video. So we will be making a apricot Moroccan chicken tagine recipe that I found off Pinterest. I'll leave it linked below. And I'm going to show you things I do to kind of make things my own and to replace things if I don't have them at home. So, first things first is I'm starting off this recipe by making a chicken marinade, which is exactly what the recipe says. I'm just going to go in with some oil, and then it wants to combine coriander, cumin, cinnamon, turmeric, salt, and red pepper. So I do not have ground coriander, so I'm just going to ground it myself in my mortar and pesto. Pretty sure that's what it's called. If not, I'll leave the correct term for it below. I'll also go with cumin and some chili powder. It says red pepper powder in the recipe, but I'm going to interpret that as chili powder because I don't know what that is. And then I also went in with garlic powder and ginger powder and onion powder. And again, does not call for this in the recipe, but I wanted to add it in as well. I'll also add some cinnamon. It asks for some cinnamon sticks as well later on in the recipe, but I don't have any, so I just put in a little bit extra in the marinade. And then I went in with some salt and some pepper. Again, it did not call for this in the recipe, but it felt wrong not to include it. Like, no salt and pepper. What? That does not compute with me. And then I just mix together the marinade. I have 6 chicken thighs here. I'm just going to add them in, skin on, and I'm going to coat them in the marinade, and then we will just set these aside until we need them a little bit later on. I will then move on to cutting all of my dried apricots in half. I went in with about 1/4 cups worth. You don't have to be exact, trust me. Things like this, you can like adjust the measurements a little bit and it'll still work out perfectly fine. One of the other things this recipe called to use was a tagine. I think I'm saying that right, which is basically the cooking dish that they make this recipe in. Don't have that, so instead I'm using a deep skillet because it looks like it's cooked really slowly in a deep pot, simmered in its own liquid, so this will work perfectly. And I just put some olive oil in there, and I'm just going to let that heat up over a medium-high heat. So I'm going to go ahead and use this to brown my chicken, and I'm going to make everything in this one pan. In the recipe, it actually wants you to brown the chicken in one pan, then put all the liquids in another pan, and then cook all the vegetables in the meat pan, and I was just like, I don't want to dirty that many things, so I'm just going to do it all in one pan. I'm going to start by browning my meat. And then I will just remove all of the meat from the pan, and I'm going to set that aside because I want to use this pan for something else a little bit later on. So as you see it there, looks beautiful, looks delicious. Don't need it right now, so just set that aside. And in the same pan, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to saute all of my onions off because there's a lot of fond on the bottom of that pan, and we want to basically lift that up, and it's going to add a lot of flavor to the dish. So that's why we cook the onions in the same pan. And then once they are cooked, we're going to go ahead and add in our butter. We're just going in with a tablespoon of butter, and we are just going to let this melt and become one with the onions. Once our onions are translucent, we're going to go ahead, add in our halved apricots, and we will just incorporate those, as well as a few tablespoons of honey. I will also go in with a can of chickpeas, liquid and all, because this recipe called for chicken stock, and I didn't know at the time that I didn't have any, so I had to improvise. So instead, I went in with a 1/2 cup of water, as well as a 1/2 cup of mead, but light beer can also be substituted for this part. And then I'm just going to mix it all together, and then we're going to place back in all of our chicken, and we want this to simmer for about half an hour just so the chicken really cooks through. The only thing I did in this recipe that I kind of wish I did differently was adding in the apricots a little too early. I'd rather have added them in when I added in the chicken. I just feel like they got a little too rehydrated in the cooking process. So you just want to put your lid on and leave it ajar, and then put your temperature down to about a medium low, and then just leave it to simmer. And then after 30 minutes, you're left with this beautiful chicken. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe, seeing how I modify things. I like to switch out different food products as well as make the most of the products I already have at home, as well as the tools and equipment I already have at home. If you like this recipe, make sure to hit the thumbs up. I'll leave the description below both the link to the original recipe and the ingredients that I used in my recipe with the measurements. And if you guys liked it, hit the thumbs up, subscribe for new videos every Monday and Thursday, and leave comments below for what you guys want to see next time. And until next time, guys, bye!